Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
Well, good morning, one and all, and welcome to a fabulous Tuesday morning on O'Connor and Company. No, I am not Larry O'Connor. I'm Andrew Langer, in for Larry this week, sitting alongside my good friend, Julie Gunlock. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning, my friend.
I am the modus operandi of the day, ladies and gentlemen. The theme of the day at 5:07 on a Tuesday morning is to not make young Miss Gunlock cry. Yes, today we're back to school. Folks are going back to school today, and I know it's bittersweet for a lot of folks out there. So yes, so we're gonna be talking with Julie. We're not going to be talking about that per se, but we're going to be talking about back to school
right,
stuff.
We're not, Andrew.
We are not talking about that. It's like, of course, now it's like tell someone to not think about elephants, and of course they're going to think about elephants. Listen, we got a great show today. We got Jason Isaac from the American Energy Institute going to be joining us. I was just talking to folks from the AEI last week. We got Katie Gorka, the Fairfax County GOP chair. Lots going on in Virginia gubernatorial elections. Jonathan Fahey, who is the former federal prosecutor and former acting ICE director, is going to be joining us as well today. Oh my goodness! So, Julie, I guess that the Nats are still doing this. We still have a baseball team in town.
We do, Andrew. Yeah. Don't ask me how they're doing. Don't ask me.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You know, it's
referring to that. Okay, I get it. You know, I'm very into sports, Andrew.
Remember what they used to say: Washington, first in war, first in peace, last in the National League. Actually, I don't know where they are right now, but you know, listen, it's an experience. Were you someone to the game over the weekend?
Yeah, it was interesting. I don't have a ton of followers on Twitter, but I love Twitter. X, Julie, X.
That's all right. Twitter.
And my son, it was so interesting. He went to a Nats game, and he came home. This was late last week. He came home, and he was really excited to tell me that he saw a lot of National Guard around the game. And Andrew, I mean, you know, if you're anything like me, it's like I avoid places with lots of criminals.
Yes, right.
And the Nats game area, the thing is, you go to the Nats game, you feel like, oh, it's a pretty summer night. It's so pretty. It's so nice out here. It's when you leave and it's late, and you know the streets start to empty out that it gets scary. Well, my son reported, and I was a little nervous actually, but you know he's savvy. He understands the metro system and everything, and he went with a group of friends down to the Nats game. And he said he felt so safe. It was so clean. And he goes, and there were National Guard everywhere. And he said, this is the interesting thing. He said the crowd, it was like constant, thank you for being here. Thank you for what you're doing.
That's
we feel
awesome.
safer. He heard all the crowd sort of saying this kind of stuff. So anyway, I put something up on X and got lots of likes and people were happy. But of course there were a couple of trolls going, you know, saying a bunch of, you know, oh, you like the militarization of our capital city, you know.
No,
but
I like the no crime. You know, something, it's benign. It's not even benign neglect. It's neglect. When you neglect the city, I got a real hard time with this. I mean, I mean, at the end of the day, by the way, Julie introduces, she teased this up and says she doesn't have a lot of followers. So, of course, that's like the one thing I hear. So I immediately go to Julie's X account, which is, by the way, J Gunlock. At J Gunlock, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. So, does Julie have more followers than I do? And of course, you have far more followers than I do. Twice as many followers as I
think you have a healthier relationship with X. You're not on it 97% of your day. So.
You know, it's yes and no. I have a healthier relationship with X now. It really does sound like we're doing some sort of relationship show. I have a healthy now. You know, it's one of those things. I very rarely do we talk about him, but our good friend, the late great Cameron Gray, he made my relationship with X healthier because
he was incredible.
Well, he was incredible, but also he was that voice. He was literally my Jiminy Cricket when it came to X, because I would get involved in these knockdown, drag out fights. And about an hour into it, I'd be going toe to toe. I had a troll Hollywood producer who would comment on everything just to get a rise out of me. And I would be an hour into a knockdown, drag-out fight, and I get the phone call from Cameron Gray. Dude, what the F are you doing? What are you doing? It's a waste of your time, and worse, it's a waste of my time. Because every time I would tweet at him, it would pop up in his X feed. But that's just it, right? I mean, you will always get the killjoys, right? The envy is the thief of joy. But you get the killjoys who want to pop in and they want to ruin it. And there is something extraordinary happening in D.C. And it's not just that crime is down, right, Julie? It is that we're showing the adults stepping in there and doing something about crime here and crime in L.A. Shows us, and it shows Brandon Scott and the Brandon who's the mayor of Chicago. Like Brandon Baltimore and Brandon Chicago, there is a different way that things can be done, and we don't have to live like this.
We don't.
I will say this much. I was in New York over the weekend. I was saying this yesterday with Bethany. There was not nearly as much weed smell yesterday in New York City. Mm-hmm. I don't know why, but it was kind of crazy. But yeah, I mean, this is the situation. It is changing. I'm so glad. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, again, it's really just a matter of DC being so crime ridden for so long that it was just something you kind of accepted. So there were people like me who said, "Okay, that's it. Like I'm not going into DC."
Julie, what the heck? I'm like now reading this thread here.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
And so and it's interesting to listen to some people. What I love, and I didn't spend too much time replying to the trolls, but there were a couple of them who came on and said, "I live in DC," and then you go to I would look at their account and it says Dallas.
Yes.
And I'm like, I actually don't think you know what you're talking about. So, but even there were some people who live in the city and were kind of complaining about the militarization of the city. And I was like, do you work at, you must be one of these ex-Obama officials who embedded at HHS. But there is this idea that we just have to accept our lot
that's
in life.
exactly right.
And that is either avoid the city altogether or just you have to risk it, right? And the other thing that is fundamentally what a lot of people don't understand is DC is not just an American city. It is our capital city. It is the only city mentioned in the Constitution. There can be special rules for DC, and there can be executive action on DC. So people it's interesting, sometimes I get in these debates and I'm like, boy, our education system is really in the dump.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was a great night for my son. It's nice to know you can go to DC and not be accosted, and good on the National Guard.
Yeah, no, listen, that's exactly it. It is a situation in which the city, right, no one is saying, there was this whole thing a couple weeks ago, right, where Donald Trump was talking about cleaning, like physically cleaning up the city, and Muriel Bowser's like, well, it is a beautiful city. It is a beautiful city, but it's a beautiful city that has been allowed to decay. I mean, it is emblematic of everything wrong with sort of democratic leadership, whether it's nationally or in these major cities, right? New York is a beautiful city, but you have to keep it that way. I mean, here's the funny thing, right? I mean, I would go to Yankee games in the South Bronx, and there would be a sense of danger. And listen, when you're a 17-year-old, a high school junior, senior, you embrace the danger. But when you're a parent and you're sending your kid downtown, it's something different. I had a conversation with a guy. I was at State Policy Network last week, Julie, and I had a conversation with a dad whose daughter has just started her freshman year at Howard, and he's like, so give me the full mission dump on this. Is it safe? And I gave him the full thing on this. So it was, and I think he was appreciative of that. So listen, we got more to get to, but first it's 5:15 a.m.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Yeah, by the way, Julie, I mean, you know, Muriel Bowser, I guess, has at least gotten the memo on all of this. She's starting to say, you know, things are better here in D.C. And of course, she's got the attaboy from Donald Trump. He writes, "Wow, Muriel Bowser of D.C. has become very popular because she worked with me and my great people in bringing crime down to virtually nothing in D.C. Her statements and actions were positive instead of others like Pritzker, Westmore, Newscomb, and the 5% approval rated mayor of Chicago. Though we call him Brandon Chicago as opposed to Brandon Baltimore, which is interesting, by the way. One of my erstwhile listeners from Baltimore, when I was doing Baltimore radio, sent the crime statistics from the weekend in Chicago. It was yet another weekend of mayhem and violence in Chicago. You don't have to live like this. And I'm not saying that the National Guard needs to be on the streets all the time, but it's like one of these situations where, as we live in this era of F around and find out, let the criminals find out, and maybe something will change.
Yeah. You know, it's very interesting how these issues, and Donald Trump, he's so brilliant at this. He has managed to get the Democrats, not only legislators, but, you know, these weird geriatric protesters to be out there carrying signs that are pro-crime. That's what it is. It's literally, it is like, we want our city to stay in the dumpster. We want people to be afraid. Why are you bringing law and order and safety back to the city? That's outrageous. And it just, again, it puts them, it makes them look ridiculous.
Right.
He managed to do that.
It is essentially exposing the great lie here that at the end of the day, it's lip service that the Democrats, pay to this. Like they claim we are the law and order party. Right. Well, listen, I'm watching this as the Virginia race heats up, and I know we're going to be talking a little bit more about Virginia and all of the things that are going on, all of the things that are going into the soup that is the Virginia gubernatorial race. But, you know, you go to this guy who's running for attorney general, right? And he's claiming he's the law and order candidate, as though Jason Miyares has not done anything in the last 3+ years that he's been the AG. But this is amazing. You know, it's funny because you talk about sending your son going down to Nat Stadium. And this statistic, Bowser's cooperation on crime crackdown leads to 87% drop in carjackings. See, that's the thing that I think about when I think about what goes on down near National Stadium. You know, it's the carjackings that have gone on, and the fact that the police can't give chase. You know,
right.
which is just nuts.
Yeah, I agree. It is, and again, it puts us in the situation of being completely, you know, the police and the citizens themselves being completely held prisoner to these criminals.
Yes. So with this in mind, the crime over the weekend, 54 shot over the weekend in Chicago, as the governor, J.B. Pritzker, the pro-crime governor, the pro-criminal governor of right. I mean, think about it. You know, they are pro criminal. They're pro-criminal illegal alien, right? Because that's, of course, the great expose is they're all going to the Met over Kilmar Abrego Garcia. They're pro election fraud, but Trump's warned, straighten it out fast or we're coming. Isn't it amazing? Well,
and again, you know what is so is there's no shame.
Right.
I think that's what amazes me the most, Andrew, is that when you hear these politicians get up there and defend their cities, which have terrible records. I mean, you look at Chicago, look at the education system, the situation there in Chicago. It's not just the crime. The crime is obviously the thing that gets a lot of headlines. But you look at city services, people are fleeing. I grew up in Illinois. My parents still lived in Illinois when I went off to college for many, many years. And my parents retired in Illinois. And they left. I mean, can you really, when you get to the point that when you've hit your retirement, generally like, okay, I'm here to stay.
Right.
My parents had to uproot their whole life
Listen.
and all of their plans to avoid that state. It was so badly managed.
My parents did the same thing in New York, also to avoid a $27,000 state and local tax bill in New York. Listen, we got so much more to get to right now. It's 5:23 on WMAL.
This is a fun segment. You're going to want to tune in for this. A lot of the Trump cabinet members shared their first jobs, and it was really kind of wholesome and charming. Very normal first jobs. So we'll share that and our first jobs coming up. Keep it here. It's 5:30.
WMAL-FM Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
Well, good morning, everybody. I am Andrew Langer in for Larry O'Connor. Today, on this glorious Tuesday that feels like a Monday because it's the day after Labor Day. Oh my goodness, what a great day! I'm in with Julie Gunlock, who is she's it's back to school for her. You excited,
That's right.
Julie? You excited?
Are you kidding? Are you
Yeah.
kidding? Yeah, I'm a little excited, Andrew.
Listen, we got a great show today. We got Jason Isaac from the American Energy Institute joining us in the next hour. Katie Gorka in the 7 a.m. hour. She's the Fairfax County GOP chair. Jonathan Fahey, by the way, Julie, I'll talk about this later. I'm speaking in Maryland to the Queen Anne's County GOP in October. I'm very excited, along with Andy Harris. But there is as it was Labor Day, I mean, isn't it interesting? I don't know if anybody's done this in the past. I'm going to say this, and of course somebody's going to come to me and say, Andrew, they've done this in the past. But in order to commemorate Labor Day yesterday, Julie, what happened? But the cabinet members, we had video of the cabinet members talking about their first jobs. And it's amazing. I joked about this to Julie. None of them, Julie, were transgender library readers. None of them were selling weed in cannabis shops. I mean, what's another sort of? None of them were paying people to vote, stand in line to vote. It's all very, very normal.
It was actually very wholesome.
Right.
A lot of newspaper routes, right? Fast food, that kind of stuff. I found it very wholesome. I didn't catch all of them, but I caught some of them. But yes, you're right. This is classic Gen X, summer work.
Right.
Very middle class folks that just, their parents said, get out of the house and earn your
right.
keep. So
right.
Great. It's great.
No, well, let's go here. I mean, the Labor Secretary, Lori Chavez de Raymer. Let's hear what she had to say. Let's put cut two.
My first job, my parents insisted that I get a job. I wanted to be a cheerleader in high school, and I couldn't afford the uniform. So my first job was packing peaches at War Madame's Packing in Hanford, California, where I was working 12-hour days for the first time, and it was exciting. I raised the money that I needed to buy that uniform. I lost 15 pounds, and I knew all about peaches, and I still love them today.
Yeah, by the way, been grilling peaches this summer, Julie, which has been fantastic. Peaches on the grill.
Oh,
yeah, good stuff. Thank you. We're not talking about food, Heather. I promise you.
No, but honestly, but I mean, I grew up in the Midwest, right? And so farming, helping out on farms, that was a big summer job for kids in the Midwest.
And this is to be clear, this is also different from working as like I babysat, like a lot of folks. I was a camp counselor. These are different than those jobs, right? I think these are like legitimate jobs. Here, Doug Collins worked in a grocery store.
Hey, babysitting kids, that's a legitimate job.
No, yes.
Okay.
I don't want to listen.
Right.
Don't want to. My nickname among
we'll
my friends
listen
was
to Doug
Mr.
Collins.
Mom. No.
Okay.
But this is when someone is signing a paycheck, I think is my point here. Doug Collins. Here's what he did. Let's put cut three.
No, when I look back on my first job, I think about all the things I thought was so important. But I got up every morning, I went to a local grocery store called Big Star, and I got to clean the floors, and I stayed there for 5 years. Actually, my first job turned into a 5-year experience all the way from high school to college.
Yeah,
So cool.
Cleaning floors.
What really quickly, what was your first job, did you say?
Well, the first job where I was working and getting a paycheck, I worked as in the mailroom of a law firm. I had to go into New York City every day and wear my suit.
Wait, you were in high school?
Yeah, I was in high school. Yeah, I was working.
You're such a nerd.
Oh my God, yes. I mean, it was
not a fast food job. Andrew was on the corporate ladder from birth.
I worked literally like one shift at an ice cream shop, and it just was not going to work. Yeah,
you're not good for this. You're not good for this segment because these are very sweet, wholesome, normal teenage stories. So we'll go to the what was Tulsi up to?
Started off in the mailroom. Yes, Tulsi Gabbard. Let's put cut number 4.
My first job was not unique. It was delivering newspapers in downtown Honolulu.
Wow, I would not have pegged that.
A delivery route. I mean, could you get more all-American than that? Now, Andrew, I think my story, you're not going to believe.
I'm not going to believe.
Now, listen, this job does not exist anymore.
Okay.
I am so old that my first job does not exist anymore. Okay.
All right.
I want you to guess what it was. Think of a job that doesn't exist.
You were dialing rotary phones for a living.
No, it's a good guess.
You were selling timeshares.
No, I worked at a video store.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Now listen, later, so right before they went out of business, it felt like the only video store out there was like hanging on by a thread was Blockbuster.
All right.
In the 80s,
it was
there were all these individually owned video stores, like a family-owned video store. I cannot remember what it was called.
Yes,
but I worked at a video store. It was the greatest job. That's part of my love of movies.
Sure,
is that I worked in a video store.
What was the number one on Julie's picks? Staff member picks.
Julie's picks. I'm such an Anglophobe, so it was all like I once put Howard's End because we had a video playing at all times. I put Howard's End totally because look, British romantic movie. I thought it was totally safe. There's a full frontal naked scene in that of men running around. They go swimming and they take their pants off, and it's like all. And I got in a lot of trouble for that.
That's why it's called Howard's End. It should have been called.
Anyway, so yes,
Howard's
video
front.
store, but I also worked fast food. Anyway, I'm sorry. Do you have any others to go through?
That's fantastic.
Listen,
folks.
Did you ever work fast food?
I never worked fast food.
No, because you're Mr. Corporate guy at 14 years old.
On the corporate ladder. Pete Hegseth worked as a lifeguard. See, I did my lifeguard gig.
Isn't that so perfect, Pete Hegseth as a lifeguard?
But you know something? I was the summer before I moved back to D.C. We were living on the Gulf Coast of Florida, and I worked when I was 28. I worked as a lifeguard on the Gulf of Mexico.
Oh, well, that's cool.
That was an awesome job. Great. See, that's what I did.
Well, and I also have to say the coolest job, do we have time to listen to this, is RFK. Can we play it?
Oh, do we have the audio of that? Yeah, let's hear real quick. Let's play cut.
My first job was working in the Washington Zoo. I was working in the reptile house, and I was feeding the reptiles, cleaning the cages, cleaning the glass with a squeegee, and cleaning the guardrails with brass polisher.
Notice they kept him away from the Bears. Anyway, we got more coming up. It's 5:44 on WMAL.
This afternoon on the Derek Hunter Show, Democrats are going to hate you anyway. We might as well make fun of them in the process. 3 o'clock on WMAL.
Well, so Julie, so I lifeguarded on the Gulf of Mexico the summer before I moved back to D.C. It was great. It was a fun job. It was a job that I wanted to have when I was 15, 16 years old, but couldn't get or didn't get. But let's hear Pete Hegseth. Yeah, let's hear Pete Hegseth talking about this. Let's play cut number 5, Michael.
My first job was as a lifeguard at the indoor pool that my mom worked at.
There you go. I mean,
so listen, fitting.
It's a great, and even better because it's an indoor pool. Because you're not out there worrying about getting sunburned, which was a whole thing.
My son was looking for a job this summer, and a friend of mine recommended him being a lifeguard, so I suggested to him, and he said it was the sweetest answer. He said, "I worry I wouldn't react fast enough, and someone would get hurt." So he did not want to. It's a very big responsibility.
I'll tell you something. That's BB. I like being the old man on the beach, literally, because all of these young kids. And I had to go in the water and save some folks. It was kind of crazy. It was a great job. But it's funny because I was in New York City over the weekend and was very glad that I apparently missed the bunch of workers set up shop in front of Trump Tower yesterday. Not the only protest yesterday. Hundreds of quote workers over billionaires Labor Day rallies take place across the U.S. And of course, Chicago Brandon Johnson had to take the opportunity to go and I was going to say something. I have no pun here. No federal troops in the city of Chicago. I mean, really, it's like everything has to be about the narrative that's out there.
They're going to lean into their most radical supporters and suggest that, in a city where 52 people die in one weekend,
right?
That somehow sending the National Guard or sending troops into a city that is completely, we're talking like dystopian levels of violence here. Mad Max Thunderdome type of, control over the city, that it's somehow an attack on democracy itself. And Johnson, actually said, we're going to defend our democracy. We're going to protect the humanity of every single person in the city of Chicago. You're not doing that right now, Mayor. And you're not protecting the humanity of every single person in Chicago. I think those 52 dead people might have some argument on that there,
and as
Mayor.
They talk about this, they slam the billionaire takeover of the U.S. government. Who are the only people in these cities who can defend themselves, who can protect themselves,
That's right.
who can be safe? It's the billionaires. It's the wealthy, right? They don't have to live like the rest of the people in these cities do and have to deal with the crime. They can shut themselves up, or they can get themselves their private security. Sorry,
and there's another way that billionaires are able to protect themselves, sure.
Right.
Even multimillionaires are able to protect themselves, but there's one other class of people that are able to protect themselves without all that money, and that is politicians.
Right, of course.
Who are given this protection that paid for by the taxpayer. So these three classes of people are able to protect themselves, leaving. And, it's really sad. Look, I think every time I see these protests, I think, many of these sort of, protests against billionaires, it's a lot of young people in these crowds, and it makes me wonder what's wrong with our education system. But, Mamdani, I would say ostensibly is what these kinds of protesters want.
Right.
And we'll have another example, another grand experiment on why communism and taxing people to death is not, and government takeover of businesses is not the answer. It's really sad we're going to have to go through that because it's going to be a nightmare.
And I'm sorry, Curtis Lewa is not going to win the election so long as he talks about trying to release feral cats on the city of New York, which was something that Bethany and I were talking about on the show yesterday. I mean, Julie's literally sitting here with her head in her hands, going, "Oh my God, wow. I can't even." But that's just it. It's at the end of the day, in the most literal sense, we don't have to live like this. We can make changes. We can solve the crime problems and the education problems and the social problems that are in these cities. All we have to do is take the steps to do them. It doesn't go. We don't need to do. Listen, it's 5:53 here on O'Connor and Company WMAL.